Hey guys, Chris from Provo Beast Audio Installation, and in today's video we're going to be replacing the factory radio on this 2016 Chevy Malibu. Now in this install we're going to show you how to get the factory radio out. We'll head over to the bench, show you the new parts we'll need, including the radio, dash kit, and wiring harness, get everything assembled and get it reinstalled. Let's get started. Alright, so as we jump into things, first and foremost, a couple of things to note. We don't have Bose, but we do have steering wheel controls. As most GM vehicles are equipped, this does have OnStar, whether you use it or not. So just be conscientious of that as we start our build. We'll show you the parts that we'll use today to retain those features. Now, first and foremost, this radio has to come out. It's a mechless radio. There's no CD or DVD drive or anything like that, purely digital. We do have a factory amplifier in the trunk pack behind the carpet that we will retain. So at this point of time, let's go ahead and get this guy on out. Now the first thing that we need to do, there's actually this panel that goes up and around the bottom here. Maybe different materials based on your trim level, but it needs to come out. Now we have a vinyl panel tool that's going to assist us in getting that removed. Now there's a couple of ways you can do it. You can use your fingers to kind of work on it. I like to use this panel tool. You kind of get in here and pop these clips on out. Just kind of like so. Just start working it free. It's all held on with clips. Okay. Now if you have the push to start button, go ahead and disconnect that as well. I'm going to go ahead and pop the push to start button just back in the event we have to cycle the key on. So next thing here is go ahead and grab your HVAC controls. Just kind of give them a little tug. You can disconnect those. Alrighty, now on top of the radio there's going to be a little panel. I have a little angled pick tool just to pop this panel on up, but it's held with two clips. You just got to relieve those clips by giving them a little tug. Just like so. Pop that panel up and out of the way. Now there's going to be two 7mm or 9/32 screws on the top and two on the bottom holding in the radio. So let's go ahead and remove those. Careful with these two bottom screws. It's really easy for them to fall into the dash. So I suggest maybe using a tip or something that's magnetized so you can pull them out. Okay, lastly, the radio is just held on with clips. So if you can just give it a tug, come on out. All right, now back behind the radio, we're going to have some various harnesses just to disconnect everything. Now with the radio removed, at this point of time, let's head over to the bench to show you the parts that we're going to need for our install. Here we are at the bench. Now the radio that we've pulled out, we're going to be replacing it with an aftermarket doubled-in radio. This is a Pioneer NEX unit with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. It's the 2300NEX. Now to accommodate that in the factory location, we're going to need a dash kit designed specifically for this vehicle. It's the Metra 95-3019B doubled-in dash kit. Now to accommodate the wiring here, we need the GMOS LAN 10 by Metra/Access. For our steering wheel controls, we're using the Metra ASWC1. And then we don't have the USB hub system in the vehicle. We only have a single USB. And because we did that, we can use this pack audio USB GM1, which will retain that factory USB down below the radio. Now the AM FM, it calls for this amplified antenna. What we'll do is we'll link this down in the description. It's NV-VWA-09. So that's the basic parts that we're going to need for our install today. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and grab our wiring from our GMOS LAN 10 and our steering wheel control wiring bits and the wiring harness that came with the radio. What we're going to be doing is getting that prepared by stripping both ends of the wiring, matching up color for color. We're going to be soldering today and we'll prepare our harness in that fashion. Let's get started. Alrighty, so we went ahead and pulled the harness out of the package. We also got our harness from our Pioneer radio. What we've done, we begin to strip both ends. Now there's two harnesses that come in our LAN unit, so we've got to make sure we grab both of them. And basically going through the instructions, you match color for color. You may notice there's a couple of unique colors within this harness. Now on this side of things, on this harness, has the majority of your colors that need to connect to your aftermarket radio. However, according to our instructions here, on this 16-pin harness, green, green black, purple, and purple black, even though they may seem like your rear speakers, will not be used in this application. We've cut them off, and you'll notice on this harness, they're actually located here. So your 16-pin harness, go ahead and cut it off, and then from your main harness here, you'll use your rear speakers there. Now, next thing here is you have 2 red wires on each one of these 2 harnesses. They just need to be combined. This red wire is going to power our steering wheel control ASWC1 harness. It just loops through. So we got to make sure we hook that one up. So that's just going to tee in to our other red wire. Other than that, brown, according to this, is a mute. If you don't need a mute, then you don't hook it up. Generally, that mute is used for OnStar. And then we have our special wires. So light green here is going to be your parking brake. We're not going to be using it because we're going to be putting in a bypass. The other special one is blue pink, which is your vehicle speed sense. Our radio isn't compatible with one, so we cut it short. And then finally our green purple wire, which is this guy right here. Green purple is our reverse gear trigger wire that our new radio is going to need to retain the factory backup camera. So we'll need to make sure we hook that up. Everything else is literally going to be color for color. Now, again, if you're not sure, always look at your instructions. Go through everything here. And also through installation and programming, it's very important that we walk through step by step there. So at this point of time, since I've stripped both ends, I've also prepared our harness by starting to put some heat shrink on. I just need to put more heat shrink on this side. And essentially here, we'll start soldering up color for color. Alright, so we have finished soldering up our harness. Again, color for color. Remember, on this 10-pin harness, we're not going to use these guys as indicated by the instructions, so we can just cut them off. But we connected everything else. Again, just color for color. Pretty straightforward. It may differ on your radio, but for the most part, it does match. So at this point of time, what we're going to do is grab our heat shrink, and we're going to move them up and over those connections here. Then we'll grab our heat gun and shrink the tubes. Alright, so at this point of time, everything is shrunk. We're going to go ahead and wrap it in test tape, kind of like Metro did as well. Now, if you don't know how to solder, it's okay. You can use other alternatives like butt connectors or even more preferable crimp caps. Just don't use wire nuts in an automotive application. They're just not designed for this type of atmosphere. So with these connections all made, what we've done also is left a remote turn on wire. We're actually adding an amplifier down the road, so it's nice and convenient to have that accessible. Just put a butt connector on that so we can snag it later on. At this point of time, let's go ahead and wrap our harness. Again, remember, off this harness, we don't use these guys. We'll just cap those off, and everything else has been connected. Alright, so at this point of time, our wiring harness is all good to go. What we can do is just set this off to the side because we are done with it until we're ready to install it. Next, let's grab our dash kit here. Now, our dash kit, according to Metra, we've already taken apart the radio and dash, obviously with the radio out here on the bench, but it does indicate that we do have to make some slight cuts and adjustments to the dash structure inside to allow for a full-size doubled end to fit in its place. So kind of keep that in mind. Looking down here below, it does indicate that we'll need to go ahead and put on our side brackets onto the radio, and then basically here our dash kit will come together and screw together, and that's the way that we're going to get everything assembled. So let's go ahead and do so. Alright, so we got our kit assembled. Now it's kind of a weird kit here. So basically you put on the sides, and based on the radio, you have to adjust them forward and back, but once you kind of find the spot, you get your screws in. And then what this kit does is it sandwiches the plate there, and you put the screws here in the back. Now we spent some time to get the fitment just right, so the radio was out here, and this gap closed up nice, and it's nice and solid within the radio itself. So it's actually going to mount with the factory screw locations. So at this point of time, we are done with this. We finished up our wiring harness, so we need to do the dash modifications now. We're going to grab a multi-tool and start making some cuts. Alright, so what we've done here is made all these cuts. Now I cut right along the side here, down, down, cut along the bottom there, and cut along the top. So basically this whole inner support has to come out as shown by these instructions. That dark gray area needs to come out, and that's what we've done here. Made all those cuts. Only cut what you need. Don't cut more than you have to. Just as long as your radio fits, that's really as far as you need to go. So with that all cut, we've test fitted the radio. Fits great. So at this point of time, we are actually ready now to start getting the radio installed. All right, so we're back here in the car. We are ready to start getting everything reassembled in the dash. So let's grab our wiring harness. And there it's color coded, so brown goes with brown. Put the little lock on. White, got all that locked in. Let's grab our antenna adapter. Plug that into the black one here. Grab our USB. Plug that in as well. Okay. Now we do have an amplifier, which is why we have RCAs and a remote turn on wire going off there, but let's go ahead and get everything connected. Alright, so before we get it in, to program everything once it's been plugged in according to our instructions, we need to start the vehicle. After a few seconds on the module, it'll go solid red and it automatically is programming. It should take between 5 and 30 seconds. You don't do anything. You just let it plug in, do its own thing, and then it turns solid green showing that it was successful. And really at this point, that's it. Now, secondly, with our steering wheel controls, there is a little bit more that we need to work on. But the steering wheel controls, as soon as we plug it in, your steering wheel control module down here will start flashing really quickly. During that time, all you have to do is tap volume up repeatedly until that rapid flash stops. And once it stops, then you stop there. Then it goes through its own programming, and that's it. So really, it's almost 100% automated, except for your steering wheel controls where you just tap up for that short window. So at this point of time, let's go ahead and start getting everything tucked inside. All right, let's do a test here. Okay, let's test our backup camera. There we are. Trunk is open, and we can adjust our lines, but that's all working as we anticipated here. Okay, perfect. Exactly as we wanted. So at this point of time, what we're going to do is continue reassembling the dash, making sure everything is put back together in reverse order. All right, that's about it for our install. Get everything reassembled here. All the screws are in. Everything's working great. If you like what you saw, be sure to hit that like button. And don't forget to subscribe. We post great content on the channel all the time. And we'll see you in the next video.